Hi, Pastor Mark Frith, LCEF Vice President, Ministry Support with another ministry moment. Hey, most parishioners listen to their pastor's sermons, one time? For those of you who have heard a sermon, though, more than once, you know how you hear things the second and the third time that you didn't hear the very first time. Yes, we believe that the Lord is heard in the proclamation and the preaching of His Word. So get this, when you hear more of a sermon, could it be said that you get more Jesus? One of our LCF ministry facilitators is a full-time parish pastor and does something interesting with his sermons. He calls it Sermon Rewind. Now, if you're old enough to remember cassette tapes and cassette tape machines, you remember the ability to hit a rewind button on your player so that you could go back, rewind, and listen to that song or that section over again. It was really pretty cool. With our facilitator's permission, I share his general idea of sermon rewind with you. After his service, this pastor has about a 20 or 30 minute period of time that he calls sermon rewind, where worshipers are invited to come and ask him any questions they'd like based on what they heard in the sermon. Now, does everyone stick around for his sermon rewind? Well, no. But in every divine service, you know that the word of the Lord stirs something in someone's heart. Something that might have given them an ounce of joy, something that may have bothered them, maybe even something that hurt them a little bit. And they just need to know a little bit more. Well, Sermon Rewind gives opportunity for that kind of care, that kind of consolation, and that kind of connection. When you think about it, this is also a great way for a pastor to hear, listen, and learn what's on the hearts and the minds of his people. And it gives the worshiper the joy of knowing that his or her pastor is actually interested in knowing them. Now, pastors, don't overlook the importance of this kind of listening, no matter how you do it. So maybe you add some coffee for Sermon Rewind, maybe a sweet treat, and even more people may stay and linger a little bit. Maybe a few worshipers will actually engage in conversation with one another and care for one another in consolation, conversation, and maybe prayer. Now, if you're casting and streaming your services online, what might something like Sermon Rewind look like for the online setting? What if you communicated in your worship stream an invitation to join you on Facebook Live later that day or even the evening? Call it Sermon Q&A, call it Sermon Conversation, a Word with the Lord. I don't know, give it a title a little more inviting, but you get the idea. This may take some strategizing and some logistical work, but how inviting might that be? Hey, and one last thing, this is another way by which pastors can share the purpose of your congregation. Don't assume people know your purpose, especially for the people who meet you online. You know, in our LCEF ministry clarity work with congregations, we teach the power of communicating the central guiding statements of purpose as often as you can. It helps your people better appreciate why God has called your congregation into being, its purpose, and that statement will begin to inspire them by the power of the Spirit to get involved and to be committed to their Lord and your congregation. If you're interested in moving your ministry forward with an idea like Sermon Rewind or something else, please contact your LCEF District Vice President. And remember, we're always here to support you and your congregation.